Back to the channel. Just want to give you guys an update on where I've been and what I'm doing. I've been working about 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Now that it's getting cooler, I'm starting to take half a day, maybe a day at a time off. So far I've taken, this would be 6 days off since the beginning of February. So I've been very busy. But lots of things have changed with the projects. Well, nothing's really changed, just how they're going to end is a little different. Jeep's changing a bit, 240 is in process too, and the Dakota. So, kind of want to show you what it did and why I've done it, but let's get to it. Dakota, still sitting exactly where it was. The Jeep was sitting down there. I had another Ram that matched that Ram sitting right there. And I had dreams of fixing it. It just needed some body work. It was wrecked. It ran and drove. But my 8-speed in my Ram started taking a crap. And the one that was sitting right here had 150,000 miles on it. So probably not perfect, but better than I had. So I ended up cutting that thing up, parting it out. I've got the whole drivetrain and everything. There's the rear axle sitting over there. I'm saving for a little bit in case I want to re-gear it before swapping out. There's the front diff. So it's 301 or something like that. Some really short, 321 maybe. But I'd like the 392 gear, or swap the gears of 392s in my truck. So I'd rather do it in these that are sitting here and then just swap them instead of having to take my truck apart to do it. So, since that option happened, a friend at work, his 5.7, he put spark plugs in it, and I'm pretty sure the strap came off the spark plug, and it destroyed his engine. The reason to say that is because it looked like that one particular spark plug, like it broke off so clean, and there was nothing else wrong with that thing. Well, anyway, he bought a 392 and swapped his to a 392. Well, he bought it out of a manual Challenger, so I wanted to buy the transmission. So before he bought it, we made a deal so he'd know how much he was going to be into his 392 swap. So I've got the 6-speed, the clutch, and all the stuff out of a Challenger. And then I've got my 5.7 out of that Ram. This thing sounded great, no problems, no ticks, no clicks. Well, it did have like the typical stud breakage on the exhaust. Looks like this side's clean. I think there was one broke off and it had a tiny exhaust leak. Yeah, that guy right there. It looks like just one. It's not going to be too bad. So now I got a low mile 5.7. I've got a 6-speed. And I had thought about, actually was going to put it in the 240. And I'll put some pictures in with the Hemi sitting in there. But once I actually got it set in, I couldn't get it low enough. And I would have had to cut the transmission tunnel back 3 inches and raise... No, I have to cut the firewall back 3 inches and raise the transmission tunnel up to get it in there anywhere kind of right. And then everything was so close, I just didn't want to do it. I've had this car since I was, I think, 18. Yeah, 18 years old. It's not perfect. There's nothing under the dash. It's gutted, but I don't want to destroy the firewall. I don't want to do all that crap. So I've always wanted a 2JZ S13. So for now, that's just tabled, and that is the plan. But tabled for now until Dakota moves. So, when I pulled the 1UZ out, it was just sitting here, about to get rained on and messed up. So I wanted the 2J for the Jeep, or for the 240, so I pulled it out of the Jeep, and I wanted to see if I could swap all the 1UZ guts to the transmission and bolt the 1UZ in. It worked the exact same way. Took the input shaft, took the pump, took the torque converter, bell housing, swapped it all in. I think the A650 for the 2J had 3 clutches in the front, the AW4 had 4 clutches in the front. I don't know much about what the transmissions do, but the V8 one had 4 clutches in the front. So everything slid right back in like it should, bolted in, and now it's in there. So the reason for this was I started doing all this working to get some money up, but now I don't have any time. Well, I've got the 1UZ. I am going to take the supercharger off. Got another factory intake. It may end up turboed later on, but I have the wiring harness. I made it so it just plugs in, and I've got the harness out of the 240. 240 is coming apart because this transmission took a crap. Well, this transmission hopefully is good and it will move. So hopefully I can take the computer out of the 240, plug it right back in, hook up a couple wires, and ideally this thing moves. Now I still got to make mounts. I've still got to figure out the exhaust. It is kind of tight, but once I take the blower off, it made 16 pounds of boost. I've got the diverter valve wired open. I could pulley it. It's non-intercooled. Its days are numbered if I keep it like this. So anyway, once I get rid of the blower, I can bring the engine up, bring the transmission up a bit more too. It's got a 3/4 drop, the way the suspension is with the transfer case drop. So now that I've moved everything forward a bit, I don't need that drop as much. Right now you can't put the drive shaft back in it. It doesn't reach. So moving everything forward should help that angle a bit and not need the drop. Also, I moved it forward enough where I need the angle to come back so that the front drive shaft isn't too crazy. So that's why the 1UZ is sitting in the Jeep. I've already done my development on the mounts for the 2J. Those worked. I have those. I've got another 2J with a rear sump pan. At some point, I'd really like a two-wheel drive Comanche or something one day. After house, after my own garage, after all those things. So I'll still end up using those. But because I already developed that, I've already got my frame plates, and I just had modeled these up and got them lasered, and I've got my engine plates. So all I've got to do now, well, one of many things, is I need to get the intake swapped, get the transmission lifted up so I know my final height. It's slid over this way right now, just sitting there, but the exhaust is so close to the unibody, so it'll end up scooting back over a bit, but it's tight. So if it could come up a little bit, that would help. So I'm going to swap the intake, make a spacer for the transfer case, then I can mock up these engine mounts. I don't think I'm going to go as far as I did with the 2J. I'm just going to build my set and be done with it. The way the coolant pipes lay out, I'm probably going to find the factory piece and replace this, maybe. This worked. This worked just fine. It's just no thermostat. I've got a washer with a hole in it in there to restrict it. So it'll line right up with where the radiator needs to hook up. And if I turbo it, I've still got my spaces around the radiator to get my pipes into the intercooler. And there's still room right here. Now, if I do that, there is no room for a downpipe to go out the back. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. If I do that, I might just stick it out the fender and call it a day. So that's where the Jeep sits. As for the 240 sits, I've got engine mounts on the way for the 2J from Japan. I'm actually excited about them because it doesn't go... I'm not pulling the hood off. Alright, factory mounts go right there. And right there. And all the swap mounts, well, they sell some that, see where the two bolts are right here and right here? Well, it's got a cup that goes over the frame, or over the unibody, and then it mounts to that. So you can lose those if you want. Again, not really much more room on this side. Not really a lot of room on this side, but you could drop the cradle out without pulling the engine. Kind of cool. I like it. We'll see how it turns out when they get here. They're shipped, but it's still a while out before they get here. Biggest reason I want to get that in, even though I don't have the transmission, is so that I can get that thing under the hood and fill that hole somehow. I need it just sitting out here going to ruin. So that's the Jeep. That's the 240. The Dakota. I ordered the manual pedals. I've still got to figure out how I'm going to do the clutch stuff to adapt it over. But 6-speed Hemi. I've got the 8-speed in that one. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Eventually, I've got another Ram I may put it in with the 360 and leave it naturally aspirated. It's high compression-ish with boost, so if I fix it, it's just going to blow up again, which is just how it is. The 5.7 Pro is still going to blow up, but at least it'll blow up at a higher number, hopefully. So I don't want to fix it, get the 8-speed going, and then destroy it again, and it be sitting here again. So I'd rather put the 6-speed in with the Hemi, and then I will save the twin-turbo V8 for later. Dakota is still getting boosted. I'm either going to use the 2 turbos and remount everything on the Hemi, or for simplicity, I may just go to a single, a small, medium-sized single, so we can still make some power, but not be super laggy, or the twins light up pretty quick. It's kind of fun. So maybe, we'll see. Once I get it in there, we'll see how it goes. I'm still working 7 days a week, so I don't know how fast this is going to happen. So I won't be posting another video for quite some time. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Well, that's where I've been. That's what I'm doing. Oh, and for the Hemi, I've got more cool stuff. Boxes and boxes of crap. I've got Skog & Dickey Stage 3 kit for their cam, which is basically the same cam that's in my Ram, but the lobe separation is a little tighter. I think mine in the Ram was 113 and this is 111. So it should chop just a little harder, but it's almost the same. I've got that. I've got the Holley oil pan. Here's the front sump pan I ordered to try to get it sitting lower in the 240. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Maybe one day it ends up in the Challenger, but I highly doubt that is better than the factory Dodge oil pan. So, but I've kind of ruined it with brake clean, so it is mine now. So I don't know what I'll ever put that pan in. But I got the Holley pan, I've got the Holley mounts, I've got the Holley TR6060 mounts for the Dakota. I did not buy the crossmember because mine already has the lightweight tubular crossmember, and I don't want to ditch that yet. So we'll see what it looks like once it's in there. If it's a big pain, then I'll just buy the Holley one and call it a day. What else I got? Haven't figured out the exhaust yet because I got to get it set in and look at the turbos. Holley used to make long tube headers. They don't anymore for the Dakota. So hopefully boost is the way to go. That solves the exhaust problem. Got the clutch. There's a lot of boxes here. This is all for Hemi. I just don't remember what else is in there. Here's my clutch pedal. And here's the clutch pedal stuff for the 240 because the 240 was automatic. There's one UZ intake manifold. And all the hooker mounts. That's right. So plan for today is get 8-speed out. Get the 360 out. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the cam and stuff in that. It's got 150,000 miles. I'm not going to have the heads gone through. I don't want to wait a bunch of time just for it to sit. So hopefully they're good enough. It sounded good. Razor blade cleanup and slap it back together. And then one day I got to swap the transmission in my Ram because right now it skips every couple seconds on the highway. Torque converter clutch in, out, in, out, in, out, and it's annoying. So I've got transmission to fix it. Just haven't done it. And then I got to figure out the intake manifold. I got the truck manifold, and I've got car accessories. I had the car pan. It's here somewhere. It just didn't sit low enough. But if I do car accessories, alternator's over here, and if I run the exhaust forward, that's in the way. So I'll probably stick with the truck accessories with the alternator top mounted, or I'll move the alternator down here if there's room and make a bracket where the AC used to be, because then you still got room for your exhaust to come out. And then I got to find out if I do that with alternator right there, I can't use the 392 car intake. So I'm looking at the Holley high ram. I guess I could do a 392 truck intake, but if I do a single turbo, it's over there. So I don't know about that. I'd rather pipe out, pipe in. So it might be Holley high ram with the side feed hat. Or the front feed. We'll figure that out. There it is. That's where I've been, and that's what I've got going on. I'm going to try not to work as much as I've been working and get some of this stuff done. Take a little personal time off to play with my toys and hang out with my wife and my daughter. But I'm going to get after it. I guess the next one you'll see, I'll set up a stand somewhere and I'll pull the 360 out. I have done some more development. Unfortunately, I ordered some parts and then decided that it's Hemi time. But if I swap it in my other Ram later, I started working on the 8-speed stuff, so I've made a flex plate, and I made a front crank sensor ring, tone ring, and stuff to work so that you don't have to mess with the flex plate and the factory tone ring. Well, I finally got that piece CNC'd in, and that's really cool, but now the engine's coming out. So I'll show you that real quick. The hub, it slides in between the crank damper and the pulley, and then I've got the ring, so it's got the 4 teeth, lines up and just kind of presses on, and then you just peen this over a bit and it is tight. So if I ever put the 360 back in the RAM or use a factory computer, because I really want a Dodge Duster, a Plymouth Duster or a Dodge Demon, I really like those, and one day I might do this, but that would require me to use the factory computer to need this stuff, so this may be a moot point. That's it. I'm getting after it. Thanks for watching.